I got to play Borderlands 4 early, and today I get to share a very small slice of that experience with you guys. The focus of this is on the gameplay, absolutely nothing story related, so don't worry about spoilers. This is basically just my first impressions on this tiny preview slice. Before we jump in, thanks to 2K for sponsoring this video. Borderlands 4 comes out September 12th, available on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. And if you pre-order now, you'll receive the Gilded Glory pack featuring new cosmetics and weapons. If you're unfamiliar, Borderlands 4 is a mayhem-fueled looter shooter jam-packed with billions of weapons, outrageous enemies, and intense co-op action which you can play cross-platform with your friends. Go ahead and click my link in the description below to grab the game. Okay, with that out of the way, what am I allowed to show you? Well, the answer is not a lot. Here's some context for the mission. After arriving in the Fade Fields, the player Vault Hunter has teamed up with the Crimson Resistance in their fight against Idolater Saul, one of the Timekeeper's lieutenants. Now the player is taking the fight to Saul's fortress. So what you'll see here is me fighting through a couple rooms of enemies leading up to a big bad boss at the end, which we will take down. At this point, I am level 15 and I'm playing Rafa as my Vault Hunter. He's the Exo Soldier, and I chose him because I like his personality. His character design is really cool to me and he's pretty funny. But more importantly, I like his abilities, and of his 3 action skills, I've been playing with the Peacebreaker cannons the most. On cooldown, these will shoot any enemies in front of you, and I've actually got an augment skill, which if I hit the action skill again, all of its hits turn into automatic critical damage. I've also got a passive ability going where if I score critical damage with this action skill, it increases the duration of it. So basically, if I'm smart and I'm picking my targets, I am always having my Peacebreaker cannons up. It's really powerful. So that's kind of the playstyle I've been rolling with and what you'll see throughout this gameplay. I'm also primarily only using one weapon, and that's because it's an insane legendary submachine gun called the Superconducting Plasma Coil. It's a Malawan gun, and you can change the damage type from shock to radiation depending on what you're facing, and it's just super powerful. Of course, it's a little goofy because the projectiles are so slow, you kind of have to lead your targets. But for me, it doesn't matter if I'm facing armor, health, or shields. This thing melts through all of it because the DPS is so ridiculously high. With all that said, I think generally speaking, you'll look at this gameplay and think, yeah, that's Borderlands. You know, it's very obviously the same kind of gameplay experience, just a lot of shooting, a lot of dodging enemy gunfire, switching weapons to match the correct element type to what you're facing. However, there is one big difference in how this plays for me, and that's the movement. There's a lot more movement in this game, I believe, compared to the last game and what you're used to seeing. In Borderlands 4, you can double jump now, and you have a glide pack. So if you hold down spacebar or the jump button, you're able to just glide through the air. You can use this in and out of combat. You also have the grapple grabber, which you might be seeing me use to throw random objects at enemies, but it's also used to traverse platforms and move around whatever arena you're fighting. Now you have so many more different moves, different things you could be doing at any one point, and especially to avoid enemy gunfire, that I think it feels fundamentally different and I think better. You'll see the arenas in this gameplay where I'm fighting. There's a lot of different points you can lock on to, and also some verticality, so you can get above enemies in a way that you really couldn't in previous games. Now let's talk about what I'm fighting in this footage. You're seeing the Timekeeper's forces. So this is a mix of these weird looking, I want to say like constructs. They look alien basically. They're a mix of pinheads, armatures, also these floaty watcher guys, which actually I think these have given me the most trouble, probably because of my legendary submachine gun. They float up in the air and they're just hard to hit unless you got a hit scan weapon. And then they'll spawn these watcher sentry things that come at you like heat-seeking missiles. They're hard to take out. If you let these guys stay up on the battlefield, they just make fights harder. I fight, I want to say, 4 to 5 different badass enemies throughout this mission, which, by the way, is only about 30 minutes long. From start to finish, what I was allowed to record and show you guys and talk about is only 30 minutes long. So that's why I said very small slice here. The first one is this cryogenic Hulk head enemy, which I absolutely melt because I have my Peacebreaker cannon action skill ready. I'm clicking that F button to get them to turn into critical headshots, and I've got the perfect weapon to take out their defenses, so this guy is dead before he even knows it. Next is this badass Watchman, which has a regenerative ability, but I have an insane grenade that teleports to its location and then generates like a black hole that gets enemies sucked in, and they basically can't fight back. So this guy was toast before he knew it too. Right after him was the badass Domination Engine, which just has the strong modifier. I want to assume that's just more damage dealt against me. But yeah, melted him very quickly with my action skill active. And also, you can ground pound again. If you double jump, which I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, you can double jump in Borderlands 4. You can still ground pound like you could in Borderlands 3. Next was a radioactive badass Domination Engine. I assume immune to radiation damage, but also has the Elemental Eater modifier, which I think means you can't use elemental damage against them. So what I did is switch to a kinetic weapon with no element, was able to take him down pretty easily, but that was tricky for me because I can't use my really overpowered legendary SMG. Next, I come across two more badasses, this time at the same time. One of them has the regenerative ability, which of course means they regenerate health, so that makes that fight a little more tough. But I will say, man, this legendary SMG carried me through a lot of this gameplay, and that's what you're going to see here. The next fight revolves around three badasses, which means there are a lot more that I face in this mission than I realized during it. But the one that gave me the most trouble was the deflector. Obviously, I didn't read that. As I was shooting at him, he was just deflecting damage right back at me. If you have a good weapon and you're shooting a deflector, that is bad news for you. So I ended up going down, but of course, in fight for your life state, I was able to get back up on one of these smaller grunts and take out the other two relatively easily. One of them is energized, which means the shock damage on my SMG doesn't work. It's not going to work out. So I had to switch to this sniper rifle, which turned out to be very powerful and took him out very quickly. I faced one more badass enemy. I just wanted to show you this one's modifier is leaking. So he's just going to leave a trail of damage behind him that you don't want to step on. So using the movement abilities, you can easily dodge backwards, move around, even use your glide pack to, get some verticality and get away from this guy as he's chasing you. At this point, I made it through the entire fortress. There's a couple of vending machines, so you know that the boss is coming up next. And once again, this is one of the Timekeeper's lieutenants. His name is Idolater Saul, and he's the first major boss of Borderlands 4. Here's his intro cutscene uninterrupted.
Of the weak is to nourish the strong. You will die, and I will return to the Timekeeper's side. May we rule forever.
So here's how this guy's mechanics go down. So he is completely invulnerable unless you do this. So he's got a phase where he's going to shoot a bunch of missiles in the air. They're going to come down. You look for the green one. Once you find that, you grapple that green object and then throw it at him. That removes his invulnerability. Now you can damage him. However, he's got 3 health bars with different mechanics that change with each phase. So you see me pretty much tearing through this guy, and mainly because I switched to my ordnance weapon. Now, this is different from previous Borderlands games. Rocket launchers are no longer a weapon type, it's now ordnance. So this is gonna go in the same category as your grenade mod, as like a big mounted machine gun. Those are the different types I've seen so far. Maybe there's more, but it's no longer its own weapon type. It is ordnance. And mine deals a ton of damage. It has like MIRV grenades that it shoots out. As you can tell, it absolutely just torches this guy's health bar. Now in the second phase, he starts doing this thing where he divides up the arena. And if you're in the bad part of the arena, you take a lot of damage very quickly. And this actually speeds up, and the area that's safe gets smaller as you continue playing. So I did have some trouble with this. Eventually, I was able to get it down. Now, what made this guy kind of tough for me, and the reason I went down multiple times, which I'm good with, I mean, I think a boss should be difficult, is that if you miss that, throwing of the canister to make him vulnerable, you have to wait through a next wave of enemies and different attacks from him until he does that missile attack again. So it's very key that you pay attention and make him vulnerable. I forgot to mention his other moves. He has a move where he pulls up a shield and then charges towards you. He also has a giant sword that he swings around. I want to say you can jump over this sword or crouch down. Either way, this fight wasn't long enough for me to really learn that moveset, and I was able to live through it. On his final phase, he'll conjure a ring around the map, so there is a no-step zone where you'll take damage if you go too far away from him. I believe that's because of his charge and his sword abilities. They don't want you to hide from them. But this is where I did go down a few times into fight for your life mode, and I had to get myself up by using these grunts around the map. But yeah, he was kind of tearing me apart when I wasn't able to deal damage to him. I finally noticed that he has these blobs on his right arm that if you shoot them, that's automatic critical damage. So I honed in on that, really burned through the last bits of his health by doing that. And there we have it. I took down Idolater Saul. Not too difficult of a fight, but with some fun mechanics that you have to learn and pay attention to. And I'll let you enjoy this loot shower. Now, I found a couple good weapons from this guy. Really, for me, in the early game, when I'm just playing the game for the first time in Borderlands, I am not paying too much attention to this stuff. I'm looking for DPS numbers. And so I found this Caliburn shotgun, 311 DPS. Daedalus guns, that manufacturer tends to have a pretty high fire rate, so I enjoy those shotguns. The best thing he dropped is this rare energy shield. It's called the Adaptive Racking Regulus, and this gives you plus 16% maximum health when your shield is active. It gives you plus 40% resistance to the last damage type you receive for 4 seconds. So just a really good all-around shield. I needed that upgrade. I also found this epic assault rifle. It's a Jacobs, the Looming Karkadan, and I just really like the way Jacobs guns feel. I always have, so I always pick those up when I find them. That's it for the demo, but I want to touch on a few more things that I noticed throughout this gameplay that you might have picked up on too. First off is like the itemization and the way the UI looks with the weapons. At first, I was like, I don't know about this. This doesn't, look as good as it used to. It's definitely grown on me. I like the way it looks now. I think it's a little bit like visually assaulting at first, but then you kind of come around, you know what you're looking for, and you understand how it works, and it's easier to sort of digest what each weapon looks like and what you're looking for, if that makes sense. I really like the way that they now let you pick up things as junk. So if I see that something automatically is not going to be good, I'm never going to use it, and I just want to sell it, I can pick it up as junk. I don't have to go through my inventory later and mark it as junk. And I just think that's such a good quality of life change. Same goes with picking things up out of boxes. Guys, when I saw this, I audibly gasped. When I opened up a container, everything came to me. So not weapons, those are choices you still have to make, but I'm talking about just cash and ammo. So when you need those things, before you would have to click E to open a container and then E again to pick stuff up, or hold E to pick everything up. No longer do you have to do that. It's one button press. I don't know why I care so much about that, but I do. And the final thing I wanted to show you is my Vault Hunter Rafa. This is what he looks like. I've got a unique head on him, a unique, skin that I've unlocked via missions. There's a lot of different, ways you can customize your Vault Hunter. So I just wanted to show you guys my level 15 Rafa right now. So that's really all I can show you guys and all I can talk about from this short mini slice of Borderlands 4 before launch. I hope I covered any of the questions you might have, but if you see something in this gameplay and you're like, wait a second, he didn't talk about that, feel free to comment below and ask me. I'll try to answer as many of your questions as I can. But overall, yeah, this is a fun mission. This is a fun look at generally how Borderlands 4 feels. And so I think this should give you a good idea of what you're going to expect when the game comes out. in a week here. Thanks again to 2K for sponsoring this video and for the opportunity to share this game with you guys early. Once again, Borderlands 4 comes out next week on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S, and you can pre-order the game in the description below by clicking my link. You'll receive the Gilded Glory Pack, which gives you some goodies, new cosmetics, and weapons. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and ring the bell so you don't miss my next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will talk to you next time.